Hello and welcome to Essex by the Sea. I'm Owen Ward, exploring the Essex coast, finding out about the amazing and interesting stories it has to offer. If you'd like to support me in making the podcast, then you can make a small donation on my Ko-fi page. The link to that is in the description, and thank you very much in advance. 2022 marks the Platinum Jubilee of Her Majesty the Queen, and while most of the celebrations have focused on London, the Essex coast has still played its part, marking this historic occasion. And a special boat pageant will be taking place off the coast of Harwich. Roy Clare is the organiser of this special event and joins me now on Essex by the Sea.
Hello, Owen. It's very good to be with you.
Oh, thank you very much. In this run-up to the event, you're very, very busy. What exactly is planned then, Roy?
Well, we thought just towards the end of last year that Her Majesty has always been very interested in the sea. And in past Jubilees, there's been, of course, a parade, some kind of festival, some sort of regatta in the Solent. There have been many fleet reviews over the years. But of course, times have moved on and there isn't one. And we thought, why don't we do one? And the sea is so important in everybody's lives that it was an obvious thing to have a go at when you are living in a county, a beautiful county with the second longest seaboard in England. The Cornish do get there just before us, but we've got the Essex coastline with all its awesomeness. So we've joined up with Suffolk, which means that if you add their coastline and ours, it's about 400 miles of festival potentially, which is quite a big party, Owen, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And building on the Jubilee celebrations that we had, this is going to be quite a spectacle. How many boats then are taking part?
Yeah, well, the idea is that we're going to have boats between Harwich and Felixstow and Shotley, and we didn't really know how many boats we'd get. We thought that as the Queen had done 7 decades, 7 boats would be magical. Do you know, at the latest count, some will drop out and some may come in. We've got just over 70 boats. Wow. So one for every year of the Queen's reign, which is pretty magical, don't you think?
That is fantastic. And it will be quite a spectacle then to see these, because I presume these are boats of all types and shapes, are they?
Yes. So what we've done is we've said to some of the big organisations who we cherish at sea, so the Navy, Trinity House, who do all the coastal voyage and lighthouses. We've worked closely with Harwich Haven because they operate the wonderful harbour, the Deepwater Harbour. And a lot of people will know this, but Felixstow is one of the deepwater container ports of England, one of the deepest. It can take the biggest ships. So it's a busy commercial harbour. We've also mentioned this to the RNLI. The Essex Police Marine Unit are going to be taking part. So we've got folk like that who are the professionals. And then we opened up the box and said to everybody else, how about coming forward? And that's what's been lovely. We've now got a mix of some motorboats, some sailing boats, some historic boats, some very new boats, boats ranging in size from around 20 feet to around 80 feet. Some that are involved in youth training and some that are involved in keeping older people healthy at sea. It'll be good fun. And the idea really is to set up a little procession to make sure that people have got flags and bunting and they can wave and all of that. And you'll be able to watch it. And maybe we'll talk about where you can watch it from in a minute. But the most important thing is to remember that this is England, so it could be raining. And you know what? We're going to go on even if it's raining.
Well, you're on the water, so it makes sense.
Exactly.
You mentioned there about previous reviews in the Solent, and I know Her Majesty actually spent the night just outside Harwich and actually commented about how nice it was to open the curtains of the Royal Train, looking out over the water across to Suffolk, and how lovely that scene was the morning that she visited Harwich. And how close a connection then does Her Majesty have with the coastline?
I think the Queen and indeed many members of the royal family have had a long tradition of being associated with the sea. And depending how far back you want to go, her predecessors as kings and queens of the realm, Queen Victoria had a passion, didn't she, for the sea, and she had and you can still see it, that wonderful bathing machine at Osborne, where she could sit inside her beach hut and be rolled gently down to the water so that she could have a swim without anybody prying. So, I mean, I think the sea has been in there in all sorts of ways. And Queen Victoria had the famous fleet review towards the end of her reign, when all the admirals were there with their big square rig men of war, and the wonderful gentleman from the northeast of England, Mr. Parsons, brought the Turbinia through the fleet. You might remember this. Some people listening to the podcast will remember that the Turbinia was the ship that really spoiled the review for some people, but it really made the future in such a big way, because as a power vessel, it creamed through all of the majestic tall ships. And of course, the point was made, turbines are going to get there quicker. And if you travel to the northeast, you can see the Turbinia in the museum in Newcastle. She spans the museum and sticks out each end of the building, but it's an amazing sight. And Mr. Parsons is such a hero up there not just because he spoiled Queen Victoria's Jubilee, but because he got a very good product into the market, and now we don't even think twice. All the turbines are everywhere. So fleet reviews have been a big part of it. And I was also going to say that it's not just been on the Solent, because when we had, 2012, the Queen and Prince Philip were on the Thames.
That's right, yeah.
And poor Prince Philip nearly caught pneumonia then. It was an English day, wasn't it?
It was
pouring
chucking
rain.
It down, I seem to recall.
It was, yeah, and it was fresh water, not salt water. So, I think they're wonderful. When Her Majesty had that view of Suffolk from her train, she was looking across towards Shotley. And Shotley is going to be, of course, one of the waving points for our parade on the 18th of June. And Shotley was the home of HMS Ganges for over 70 years. And many older people will recall the stately mast in the center of the HMS Ganges site. And it was, of course, the tradition that the youngsters under training would shin up the mast, 150 feet or something, 180 feet, and they could see over the whole of Suffolk and most of Essex from the top, and all they had between them and death was a lightning conductor clutched tightly around their knees as they stood on the button at the top. What an amazing thing all that was. Anyway, Ganges shut some years ago, and those who know will know that the marina at Shotley, the very good marina at Shotley, is built on what was the athletics track. So Her Majesty's view from the train saw HMS Ganges and Shotley, and she was looking then at the site of our parade of boats. So there's a lovely link, isn't there?
It is, and it brings it full circle. And full circle is kind of what the parade's going to do. You mentioned Shotley being one of the waving points. Obviously, Harwich is another. Where exactly is the parade going to go then in Harwich Harbour?
If people are familiar with the harbour, they'll know that the two sides, it's the boundary, isn't it? It's between Essex and Suffolk. And so it's rather wonderful that the two counties are collaborating on this, so that if you're in a boat, you can set off, first of all, past the Ha'penny Pier on Harwich, and then you'll steer round the corner past the historic Navy Yard. I mean, Harwich just oozes maritime history, and if anybody's not yet done the maritime walk, the trail, it's an easy walk, it's flat, it's well signed, and you can get a leaflet from the little tea shop on the front at Ha'penny Pier. Honestly, it's worth doing. There's so much history, and the sea captains' houses, and then the lighthouses, and you can go on and on. So the fleet will steer around there, and then they'll pass off the beach where there are some small fishing boats with their moorings towards the North Sea, but not too far, and then they'll turn left towards Landgar Point, which is the point you see across the harbour there next to the container ship terminal, and they'll go past the fort at Landguard, and by now they've turned back to the west, and they'll be looking at the beach where the Harwich Harbour ferry lands. If you're familiar with it, it's a yellow ferry, that takes you across the harbour. That lands there. And then the fleet will head off over back towards Shotley before dispersing again off Harwich. So it's a nice, as you said, it's a there and back, both sides of the water and both counties. And Landguard, I know, have got stuff happening in the fort. They're very keen to sell ice creams. There's always parking on the front, and they've really taken it to their hearts. And I think a visit to Felixstow is a real possibility, because Felixstow and Landguard are back to back, and it's an easy walk or a short run in the car. So I'd recommend that. But actually, if you're in Harwich and nearer Harwich, the Maritime Trail would be a thing to do. There's some great little pubs in Harwich and places to buy ice cream there, and you could wave at the boats about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. About 2 o'clock on Saturday the 18th in the afternoon. There should be some boats starting to approach Harwich, and then there'll be the procession of 70. And of course, if you're on the other side of the water, you could go down to Shotley, and we've already talked to the lovely people in Shotley. They've got lots of parking, and you could be thinking about the HMS Ganges site as you wave at all these boats reenacting. They'll be a bit later at Shotley. If it's about 2 o'clock at Harwich, it'll be probably nearer 3 or 3:30 in Shotley. So that gives people an idea. But just think, we add the sunshine and a light breeze and a blue sky, and we've got the perfect recipe.
The picture that I can imagine in my mind's eye of Harwich there, looking out over to Shotley and over to Felixstow, as you say, with this procession of boats sailing past, the sun shining, which hopefully it will do on the day. This is just going to be quite an event and very special indeed. So, Harwich, from both Ha'penny Pier and also from the beach at Harwich, a good two places to visit on the Essex side, really, then. And as you say, on the Suffolk side, Shotley and the beach near Felixstow too. So, wherever you're going to be to watch this should be very special indeed. Is it too late for anybody else to join the procession?
There is a website. You can go to the Festival of Suffolk website and look for the Festival of the Sea page, and there'll be either a notice there saying we've closed, we're sorry, or there could be one saying contact us, and you could tell us you're late but you'd love to join us, and I'm sure we'll find room. And Her Majesty won't mind if we have more than 70 boats, as it looks like we might well have a few more than 70, which is very exciting. The other thing, of course, is you don't have to enter the parade if you are in your own boat. If you keep back a little bit from those in the parade, you could actually wave at them from the water.
Of course.
But the advantage if you register and take part is you will get a free flag as part of your registration that we've developed. It's actually rather a pretty flag on a rich blue background. It's got the vivid red and yellow axes of Essex, and it's got the motif for Suffolk. And the Essex flag, of course, is mostly red, and the Suffolk flag is mostly light blue and has a gold tint as well. They look really well together. It's a nice flag. It's unique. It's celebrating the Platinum Jubilee, and you can only get it free if you enter your boat. But you could buy it, and it'll be available on the shop of the Festival of Suffolk website if people want to buy one anyway as a souvenir. And there are other souvenirs for the whole Platinum Jubilee on there, by the way, because Suffolk has really had a big summer of events, and it's been lovely to work with them on this Festival of the Sea idea.
As long as the sun is shining, this is going to be fantastic. And even if it's not, it will still look quite a spectacle there off the coast of Harwich. So,
if the sun isn't shining, it's even more memorable, Owen.
That is true. That is very true. We could be waving our umbrellas from the coast.
We could.
Roy, just remind us again where it's taking place and the best time to view the parade.
Yeah, so the best time to view the parade is going to be Saturday, the 18th of June, in the afternoon, around about 2 o'clock, on the Ha'penny Pier area of Harwich. That's on the front, in front of the Pier Hotel, near where there's the former light vessel, the boat that rocked, and the Arnalai station. and also from the beach at Harwich, which is then round the corner, following that maritime trail, where you've got the 2 old lighthouses, and right out towards where the Banksy is. Those who know their art will know how to find that. And then you've got that nice view across to Suffolk and Landguard Point. And then you can also view it, of course, from the Landguard side, from the Felixstow side, and from Shotley. And the little yellow harbour ferry we know is running that day. And so you could, I suppose, get yourself a ticket on the ferry and follow the fleet that way. That'd be quite an original way to do it, wouldn't it? And so there'll be lots of things. The also things worth saying is that weekend there are lots of other maritime parties happening in locations up and down the Suffolk and Essex coast. Too many to mention, but it's worth checking if you're in your locality. Let's say you're in Brightlingsea, just check out what they're doing, because you'll find there's some boats going up the Colne because the tide is good, and they go up towards Rowhedge and Wivenhoe, and it's an annual thing, but they're kind of doing that as part of this as well, because everything's a celebration. There's something else happening up the Blackwater towards Malden, and there'll be something in Burnham, and so on. So definitely worth checking your hood if you don't think you're going to travel to Harwich.
Lots of things going along the Essex coastline. We are spoilt by having such a long coastline, that is for sure. Roy, time has beaten us, but I wish you all the very best for the event. It is going to look spectacular. Rain or shine, it will be great. Thank you very much for joining me.
It's been a pleasure, Owen. Thank you.
Essex by the Sea is now on TikTok, so if you use that app, do follow Essex by the Sea on there. You can also find the podcast on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. So until next time, thanks very much for listening.